What's good, y'all? It's Clyde, aka Archangels Out There, and it's gonna be a good video today. First on the channel, because I'm doing a astrology reading for the planet we are inhabiting and the world we live in for our alignments, our higher alignments. As you know, our natal alignments are our present alignments or lower alignments. And those actually take 3 days to manifest from the present moment of the actual reading. And the readings I'm giving today as like a planetary reading or a star reading would manifest in 3 weeks from the reading. So any higher reading manifests in 3 weeks, any natal reading manifests in 3 days. And it's always like that. That's something that doesn't change. But what may change is how you would, the time duration of the day, or of course the week. So it's basically the most intense fight, but the shortest. So I got my notes and shit until I go in and tell y'all a cool story. So Neptune is dignified in Pisces. So we don't want to overdo any activity that includes vices, even normal activities like eating, thinking. It's a great time and energy in the air to overdo things and like poke at a wound or to overthink things or to just act on a feeling when you don't need to even do a thing about it. It was already being taken care of, and then you go and create negative karma for yourself by acting out of character. So trust your heart and know when to say you need to do something else. Do not just pick at the open wound that everybody gets to see, because we have a wound in our face with Chiron and Aries, because Aries is the face or the horns of the ram, and Chiron is the wound. So we have a wound on our face that is healing right now. And the wound will fully begin the healing process in 3 weeks. Begin the process. Because of the way the world works, it's building into that. If you know how energies work, they're more complex, even in their simplest form, just to, make them happen at the level we're at. Once we're at a larger scale and the energy we take on and the bodies we inhabit, and actually a smaller physical representation of this world, so really within a world that makes up this world, would be the consideration I'm speaking of. And Icarus is in Aquarius. That is very important because Aquarius is the water bearer. And as y'all know, I made a video where I spoke on the allegory of Noah's Ark and the flood and Moses and those tying together, and how that being a representation of, since we are technically in purgatory as a world and dead as a whole, that essentially means that we are essentially in the waiting point, whereas it's like time stopped. And then when we begin the healing process in Icarus and Aquarius, we're going to get the water bearer in full effect. So we're going to experience the healing power of water, or cooling the light we are, the fire, the cool fire. Because it's all connected. It's all the same thing at its heart. But we know fire and water are the main energies that we want to focus on. Moon is in a detriment in Capricorn, and it's in the home for my natal alignment, so I know about this a lot more than other people. And it's basically, if your moon's in Capricorn, you basically think you're the shit, but you feel like a piece of shit until you realize that you just feel like a piece of shit because of karmic alignment, and you're just dealing with negative karma and the end of negative karma and the rock bottom of the scoop of the wave before you hit that super exponential jump. So we have a change in our mindset to reflect Hygeia in Scorpio for procreation or the birth of our new structure of life on planet Earth. And this is because we are in Libra, or at the balance, the Libra scale of the Imam Coeli, or which is our root through crown in the world. And and that the reason of that is because it makes sense to be in our rock bottom right now because of the detriment. Because we know the world we live in right now, Earth, it is ran off of feelings. So that would make sense, because the moon is representative of our reflection of ourselves, or what we view ourselves as, or what we think. Because we always think about what we are trying to be, or what we want to be viewed as in the face. And then in the heart, that's where we really learn about where we are, or what we're doing to ourselves in the feelings. Because that's when they manifest and control the actions, because the feelings are the catalyst to action. You don't do anything without feeling it first, and that's key. You never want to forget that, and you never will after this. So the black moon is in Cancer. We are not focusing on feelings/emotions when we should be, because we are lost in the dark side of our Scorpio alignment, making us lust for pleasure to heal the wound that everybody can see, and how we want the world to view ourselves. So basically that's saying, we're trying to hide in the darkness of our feelings as the alchemist of the feeling, and we're not even focusing on our feelings. So we're at a point where you see how I'm saying this is like the purgatory afterlife, and we should be working on ourselves, but we're doing other things and trying to engage in lust and pleasure and trying to overindulge on our vices, which is really what the wound is. The wound was our vices. If you remember correctly, our vices is what killed us in the first place. Then we partied too hard, and then the world electrical system shut down, because it was a whole world party called Project Z or some shit, Project Zerth or something, that nobody seems to remember anymore. Everybody was partying for a whole 24 hours straight, and right before the timer was about to go off, the timer was like boop, 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 to end the party, to say, everybody was supposed to go home. And then everybody was like, no, I don't want to go home. And I went to my friend's house, my neighbor's house, for a couple hours, smoked, took about 4 shots, felt too drunk to stay awake. So I laid down in the bed, and I was woke up by a party. And then that's how I knew they were partying for 24 hours straight. And it was like a little underground thing for everybody to get secret locations and have parties for 24 hours straight. And when they did that, they literally overrided the power of the entire world, because they were running so many things at once for 24 hours that literally the entire power supply of the earth was drained, and the world was in a blackout. And then the sun itself shut down, and we heard before the sun shut down, it sounded like a missile hit it, but it was still there. And then it started glowing bright red, and the whole sky was bright red and orange, and no clouds in the sky, but the sun looked like it was bigger than the moon had ever been, and bigger than the earth. And it was literally, looked like it was shooting fire. I forget what they're called, but I forget the actual term, but when the sun is about to die, it shoots fire flares, solar flares, at the planets around it and at the space around it. So we were getting solar flares hit on us, and they said that entire states were getting taken out at one point. And then before they were able to keep the emergency news broadcast going, all the light went out of everything. We just saw completely black. We couldn't even see ourselves anymore with the sun, but we still felt everything, could speak. It's just our visual senses have been gone. And I knew because my roommate even screamed out to me at the top of her lungs and said, Clyde, I can't see. I don't know what's happening anymore. I'm like, oh, I can't see either. I think everybody's seeing this right now. So just just stay still and then we'll figure it out. I'm coming to let you know it's all right. So I literally was able to walk straight to her and not bump into a single thing. And I was moving relatively fast. And there was no vision for anybody. And everybody was literally screaming like, I can't see. How am I blind? And then how are we all blind? You know, it was pretty obvious that everybody in the world had literally went into a blackout in the vision where everybody was blind. So that was literally the death. And then that's when I was talking about in one of my videos, I forget what it's called, but it's the one where I talk about, I think when it's titled "We're Us," like we are dead or whatever. And it said that we all felt ourselves burn alive slowly after the blackout, and that's the only. Yeah, y'all, my bad. It's another pieced together video, but don't worry, it's still pretty much unscripted, and we just got to do it inside now because it's hot. You know, things are heating up. So that takes me to my next point where I was saying that I was wrapping up. I was literally just finishing saying 2 E's, and so. That's when the only thing we could see was us burning alive, and then that became the only thing we can feel once it began happening. So the sun is in Gemini, and that's very important for our healing of our wound. Remember to get fresh air. The whole universe is creating new air to breathe. So that is to say that the air will literally be so thick once this wound is healed, it will feel like you are breathing literal water. Liquid water. So that's to say that you need to get physically active if you do not get physically active for at least 10 minutes a day. A 10-minute walk a day will make the breath that you take when it feels like we're actually breathing real water that much easier. And it may just save your life so you don't actually suffocate. And you know what to do when it feels like you're going to suffocate, but you know deep down you won't suffocate and you're just breathing in a different way. It's the key. So, you know, this vessel you're looking at right here, me, this may be my Noah's Ark, and the one you watching this video with and holding your phone or doing whatever you watching this video with, that may be your Noah's Ark. And that's the real allegory for when the world floods and we have every animal, the highest being in us to survive. And then we're going to split the sea and live in the water like it's dry. And that brings us to Uranus fallen in Taurus. Remain strong because we are at a weak point in our practical and traditional structure of this world. So we will begin to fully cross over and allow a new world to be born. Happy birthday. Remember, dying is just how we get to the new level, and falling is what it feels like to face the final boss. All right, so now I'm gonna smoke wood, and I'm gonna tell y'all the story of when I actually died. One of my times I died, and I actually consciously remembered the whole thing and whole process because of the way I died and what happened to me as I died and what happened to my body after death and the intention and purpose behind everything that happened surrounding my death. Tell me what you're doing, tell me what you're doing, tell me what you're doing, tell me what you're doing for the world. Why you gotta be that way? Shout out Flights. All right, so um, it all started when I was younger. So the first time I learned how to use the internet, this was the first time I got a computer. So I'm not gonna worry about geographical locations too much until it's super important. But it was the first time I got a computer, and I was searching for video games on the computer, and then I had been watching TV after playing games on some random website on the computer, and a video of a ad on BET said that, do you want to hear about Paris Hilton's new sex tape? Stay tuned on BET for the coverage of the leak that we had just discovered and stuff like that. So at the time, I didn't even know what the word sex meant, let alone how to do it. So I asked my dad, I'm like, Dad, what's sex? And then he grabs me by the shoulders, looks me dead in the face and said, who said that to you? Who asked you for sex? Tell me right now. And then now I know he was making sure I wasn't molested or whatever, or, any sexual predators around. And then I said, no, I'm okay. It's just I heard something on the TV that said it. And I don't know what it means, and it sounds like something. I don't know what it is, though. And he says, like, well, I guess you're a little smarter than I thought you were. And then he said, it's just a special way that we as humans make other humans, but it's only for adults because it takes a lot of responsibility and a lot of money, which you don't have yet and stuff like that. So I understood that, but I wanted to know more. So when I got on the computer and I learned how to search for games, I was like, wait, if games pop up when I get on here and type in like basketball game and like hunting game, like racing game, I was like, what if I type in sex game? I was a kid, so I was literally at this time I was I believe I was 3 years old, but I was abnormally large for a 3-year-old. So I was literally the size of the average 12-year-old as a 3-year-old. And they began giving me a new type of steroid called a stunter, a growth stunter. And it was something it literally reverses the growing process to shrink something. It's literally the idea of where like these little like tiny little like smaller fruits come from, like where they have a personal watermelon. That's literally it's the same idea, but just not used in a super harmful way. So I search up sex game and I click the first link, label like XXX, click this right now. I was like, ooh, okay, whatever that means. Clicked it, and the first thing that pops up is a donkey body. I see a donkey body, and I see the head of Britney Spears, who I actually know who that is because I heard her song on the radio going to the car wash one day with my dad. And when I heard her song on the radio, I was captivated by her voice and the way she was saying the words she was saying. And it was Hit Me Baby One More Time. And my dad was worried because I liked that song so much without really him knowing. I understood what it was about, which I didn't understand what it was about in full conscious awareness in my view. But deeply at a spiritual awareness, I knew what it was about, and I had to see what's the deeper understanding behind it I have now. So when I saw that, it was basically a guy, humping the donkey, and it was a white girl's butt, but I didn't know what the butt even looked like because I hadn't seen a girl with her pants off, especially a white girl with her pants off. And it was loud moaning. It sounded like an ambulance siren volume of a moan. And my dad got up there so quick, And then he almost broke the computer and pushed me out the way, like knocked me out the chair and stuff. Like, what's going on? Who is that? Who's raping my boy? I knew it. Who's on here? And literally it was a voice. It was a voice. It was somebody had hacked our computer off the first link and said, "Watch your back, boy, whoever you may be, but we may find out soon," was what they said. And my dad said, "Look, I'm this faction of the Marine veteran, Marine Corps," and he literally was brought to tears for the first time in 15 years. He said, "You know, if you dare touch me or my boy, you will wish you had never come to this world the first time you had come to this world, and even for the best time you had come to this world." So all we heard was, like it sounded like a phone being hung up. And then he literally screamed at me so loud and told me never get on that computer again. And, I cried for about, 30 minutes in my room with my head down on my pillow. My pillow was damn near soaked. And I didn't get on that computer for about a whole month. And then a month goes by. I'm still not allowed to get on the computer, but I had started asking the past like 3-4 days, can I get on the computer now with supervision? You can literally record me and make sure I don't do anything. And he said, it's not safe. You don't understand. I can't tell you right now, but it's not safe. You can't literally be on a computer. You literally cannot be on a computer right now. You have to keep it there because it's considered evidence. And I was like, whoa, that sounds like a big word. What does that mean? And he was like, don't worry about it. It just means somebody's in trouble, but it's not us, but we could be hurt. You know what that means? And then I was like, I think so. It just means like you feel pain, right? And then he was like, yeah, but we don't want to feel a lot of pain unnecessarily. And then and then it sounds like that's what somebody wants to do to us. So I was brought to tears again, and I still didn't understand why this was so serious. And then I was like, Dad, calm down. Why is this so serious? And he was just like, because you were just trying to be a kid, and you may have literally just put mine and your life in danger. And they literally have called me and given me my mother's address and her phone number. How would they know that? And I don't tell people that. I haven't even said that on that phone before. I haven't even said her real name or her address on that phone. I've just told you in person. So how would they know that? And then I didn't know that at all. And then he was trying to figure that out with the police. And the time came where I was sleeping, but I couldn't fall asleep for some reason, and I kept having nightmares every time I would fall asleep. Within like 5 minutes, felt like I'm falling asleep. And then I was woken up by our front door glass being broken. And when our front door glass was broken, my dad said, well, this is it, and then he slammed my door, and then I heard something heavy go in front of my door, and he said, Clyde, just duck in the shower right now and just pray to God you see Dad. And then I went to the shower, but I opened the door first, and then I got to see him again. And then he literally whispered to me, he said, get to the fucking shower right now. I love you, son. And then he kissed me. And then he ran down the steps, and all I heard was machine gun fire. It sounded like, I guess, a Uzi and an AK-47. It sounded like 2 machine guns at once. And I heard screaming, but I was so scared that I couldn't think consciously and with like common sense. So I jumped when I heard the fire and the crashing and like the screaming, and the only thing I could think to do was turn on the shower, because it felt like they wouldn't stop firing. It felt like they were firing for so long and it felt like every time I heard a pop, 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 it was just ripping me apart. So I turned on the shower, and I turned it all the way to hot, and then it started scalding me alive. And so I turned it all the way to cold, and then it put me in shock, because I literally was scalded because the water for some reason, it was a supernatural event. and the water instantly became as hot as it could possibly be, almost like it didn't have the buffer on it for temperature for a second when I turned it all the way up in that immense stress. And then the water came out literally steaming, boiling, sizzling, you know, and it just felt like acid was hitting my skin, but I wasn't screaming. I literally just, you know, just tears falling down my face as I was feeling this immense, literally felt like, it felt like I was on fire, for sure. Felt like I was on fire. And then some told me like, wait, this is hot, you know, like, and I don't know why I didn't even react to the immense pain that I felt, but the only thing I could do after was just, you know, turn it to the cold. And then the cold started hitting me, and then I was like, you know, and I still went to go wipe my face, and then I remember my head hitting the handle like this, and just going like that, and closing my eyes, and then I don't remember anything after that. So, when I came to, I literally couldn't open my eyes, and I could only like, you know, move slightly and roll back and forth as if I was restrained, and I was in a small space. So, you know, I was trying to move so badly because I was so confused and I didn't know what had happened for anything. And then there was something in my mouth that I started chewing on, and then I heard some voices say something super loud, and then something was hitting me that was really hard, and then I spat out the thing that was in my mouth, and the thing is, the thing that was in my mouth was taped in. And when I spit it out, I spit it directly into my hand for some reason. So it went from duct tape into my mouth, into my hand, and I was able to hum because the way it was in my mouth was so deep in my mouth, I couldn't even go like oh or anything like that because it was choking me to the point where I could breathe slightly, but I couldn't make any noise. And then I just keep whimpering and saying, where am I, and in a hum, you know, without being able to open my mouth. So sounding like a dog. And then they said like, you know, come on, you little puppy dog, don't be scared. You're with friends now, and stuff like that. And I still couldn't see. You know, they weren't showing me any faces or anything like that. So I couldn't see. I couldn't open my mouth, and then I couldn't move. I felt like I was duct taped into a ball with just my head moving, and literally damn near like hanging from something tied around me like a cannonball, or like, you know, in the corner. And every now and then somebody would take something off my ears and whisper in my ear, or move it fully, and then reach under whatever my head was tied in and wrapped on, as my hands were wrapped around my legs and I was in that cannonball, and, you know, undo the tape on my mouth as quickly as they could, as hard as they could, and just rip up my face and stuff like that. And so then that shit out. Then they were interrogating me, and they were asking me questions I actually couldn't remember. So I mentally could not recall any of the things that they were trying to ask of me. So they were trying to say like, you know, where is this? Where is that? What is this? And I was like, these words, and I was honest with them. I was like, you know, these things sound familiar, but I'm honest with you. Like, can you please let me go? Because I have no idea what to even begin to tell you about that. I'm young. I'm only 3 years old. I just turned 3. You know, the day that I got that happened was midnight, 12:29 a.m. on 4/4, and it was 4/4/05, and then so then we went to a new place, like a new building, because they interrogated me, and I told them I didn't know anything. So that they would, when they would talk to me, they would use like what felt like broken English, like they were literally typing stuff in a translator and trying to figure out what to say to me and what to ask me, and then they would speak to each other in a different language. And I just kept asking them, like, you guys need to speak only my language right now, because I don't trust you guys to even tell you what you need to know. I don't know how to figure out what you want to know without even seeing you or really being able to understand what you're asking me. You're just asking me about things that I've never actually come across, but that sound familiar. It's like, it feels like you're trying to have me remember directions of a place I've been one time, was what I told them. And they literally smacked me across the head, and they were like, you know, how are you this smart, and you just told us you're only 3 years old, you know. And then they basically wanted to know how I was, the height I was when they found me and stuff like that. And then what's crazy about this, the whole time I was talking to them about that and all that stuff was happening, I was still thinking that this was my family, and then this was my dad coming to me, and I was just in some weird position trying to figure out what was going on. Literally. So like, I was really that naive at that point. So they basically end up saying what I thought was, okay, we guess he won't talk right now. We need to work it out of him. So they bandaged me back up, so I was deaf and dumb or whatever, you know, couldn't hear anything, couldn't say anything, couldn't move, blah, 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 and immobile. And then they just removed my ear, and they whispered in my ear and said, "Do you know what it means to eat? EAT." And I was like, "Food?" And he was like, "What about drink? As in alcohol, or maybe water?" And I was like, "Yes." And then he said, "Well, just know you're not getting any of 2 of those things, and you're only getting 1 thing only until you talk." And then he said, "I bet you'll be eating dinner," and then closed me back up. So then I didn't know what was about to happen. You know, my mind just told me to be patient and just stay silent. So then I feel injections in my back that really burn, and I was like, you know, I was able to scream with the restraint in, because I guess they figured it was in deep enough and big enough so I wouldn't be able to make any noise. But for some reason, I was able to move it to the point where I could actually make noise again. And then so I started screaming, and then they started, you know, jamming the needle in even further, and then, you know, pushing more of the alcohol in my back. And I guess they were injecting it into they were injecting it directly in my liver, and then they were injecting into the top of my spinal cord too, straight down. They're injecting alcohol, some type of alcohol. And when they would do that, it literally would give me the giggles for 5 minutes straight every time, no matter how much they injected. If they injected any of it, it would give me the giggles for the first times they were doing it. And then so they ended up doing it for what felt like a whole week straight without even letting me talk. And literally, I couldn't. At one point, I just couldn't stop rocking. I just couldn't stop rocking. And they literally said that my butt had 3rd-degree burns when they found me from stomach acid, as if I had been wearing a diaper made of throw up. So um so the thing is, during all this, I didn't realize it wasn't even my family or my dad that had kidnapped me, because the whole time they had stolen my dad's ID and used tracking technology to find some of our family and get them and their IDs to and pictures of their naked bodies and statistics and stuff like that, to literally taxiderm people and to turn people into universal like body wearers for certain specific body types and sizes of people. So they were literally trying to make like blank humans that could literally commit any crime or do anything they wanted to, do whatever they wanted to do, and then just get a person and switch bodies with them, like it's a video game, or like like Captain Ginyu from Dragon Ball Z, or like literally, and wear their skin on their body and change their facial structure so people don't notice that they feel like can catch on. And it's a crazy process done through a lot of GMO chemical processing. So like a lot of stem cell, quick healing stuff to that they use to heal immense damage from diseases and stuff like that. But the thing is, they would use those processes in their own research and negative intention, with intent to harm, to basically to figure out how to like superpower certain drugs and certain substances. They started to realize everything was energy, and that things could be manipulated in whatever way we actually see fit. But the thing is, they actually didn't believe in karma or natural consequence. They just believed in physical consequence of police. And at the time, there wasn't a lot of DNA investigative work and advancements in the biological world of DNA investigative work in the police field to be able to detect these things, because literally they were literally just invented. If something was invented this second, they wouldn't be able to detect it used in a crime scene, because most times, unless they have some way to detect the what's left over from the use of it. So that's where it slipped under the radar for so long, because they didn't know what they were using to dispose of things. They didn't know what they were using to do the things itself. They didn't know how they were supposed to be doing this process without being caught at the present moment, like face to face with people, like how I'm doing this video. If there was a person here, how they wouldn't be able to tell. But formaldehyde, hydrochloric acid, and some GMO chemicals are real powerful, especially with some bleach added, some undiluted bleach. But so then I begin to slowly learn that this isn't normal. As much as they tried to make me feel like what was happening was normal, this kidnapping. So once I was what they call like antimatter drunk or something like that, and I was, which is like a weird form of truth serum. They started speaking in their language to me, and I was answering in their language when they had removed my my duct tape and whatever was in my mouth. I was literally speaking to them in a language I didn't know what the name of it was, and I felt like I'd never learned. I was just 3 years old. So, and then so we were communicating, but I knew what I was saying in English, and then they literally told me, "Don't know what you're saying in English, or else we'll kill you right now and your whole family." And then I literally had to stop knowing what I was saying in English, and I did it that instant. So I was like, what the heck? So, and then they literally told me I said that in my mind. So then I knew they could literally hear me at a different level than what I'm used to people being able to hear me at. So then I said that to them in their language, and then they basically then they bandaged me up again for what felt like a super long time, and then all I got was a removal, and it said, "We know who you are." Boom. And all I felt was in my back, like somebody, like a kid was on my back. And I think they told the kid I was a piñata. They literally duct taped me up with a whole bunch of duct tape, and then black duct taped me, painted me up, made me look all good and shit. I remember hearing spray bottles, and they said they hung me up, and they said, this is a piñata. And they literally had kids for a birthday party with a bunch of kids there at one of their meetings. Literally just beat me, stab me, shoot at me. Believe it or not, they make spray-on bulletproofer. They spray bulletproofer around the piñata, and actually said, you know, that you can even shoot this, but we won't allow you to shoot for 30 minutes of trying to get it. This is the hardest piñata to break ever. Whoever can break this piñata is going to get the ultimate prize inside. I promise. That's all I heard. And the thing is, I couldn't hear physically. I was just feeling these things. I was still bandaged up, everything. But the thought that was pushed was so loud, it sounded like my physical voice saying it just before. And I remember feeling like, you know, at these times I was like going to sleep at random times, and like I felt like I was being put to sleep and put to wake by injections sometimes. And I remember being injected and falling asleep sometimes, even though I think they were trying to make sure that I couldn't be remembering those things through injections into my memory part of my brain, literally to dull it to the point where I forget what had happened within the past, like, you know, 2 months. And so when those things were happening, the last thing I remember was what felt like I was on a roller coaster in the same position, you know, just like, you know, in my own mind, just wishing my back would stop hurting, and like, you know, wishing I could do something besides just feel like a blob of pain. And I remember spinning around super fast and flying super fast, and then felt like landing in water, and then of course, because they were stabbing it, because the bulletproofer doesn't stop doesn't stop knives to go through it. Of course, the salt water burned the shit out of me and my broken, mangled body. So when the salt water burned me and my mangled body, I tried to scream with my last bit of breath, and then all that happened was a bubble. And I remember being the air in the bubble, believe it or not. And I was stinky, and like, it's crazy. I could taste myself, and I knew I didn't have a body. Like, you know, I knew, like, damn, it's better to not be able to say anything at all. Like, I can't speak right now, and I'm only able to do this here. But this is better than to be able to even say this as I used to, and as I wanted to be able to say to my parents so bad this whole time. And then when I had reached the top of the water, after starting to sink in the little like bag thing, the cannonball, it reached the air, and then I saw the world. Then I was the world. You know, I saw everything. And the crazy part is, at the same time of seeing the entire world and everything happening at once without me, I had this same vision of telling all this story in exact same simultaneous action. So that's how I know these alignments are exactly the same. That's how that ties in. And then, so I was watching everything happen from everybody's perspective at once, and it was really cool. And I was able to understand feelings in a new way, and my thoughts in a new way, and everything in a new way. And I was learning so much. And like, you know, I was able to see how dark the world gets, and I was able to see how like superhero movies are really the real truth of the world. Anything with anything superpowered in it is the real truth of the world, because it's the real energy that we are here to create for the world that we are creating for ourselves in practice here in purgatory right now. So that we've been doing the whole time. That's what we're always here to do, as we know. So then once that world ended, that I was viewing from that way, there was what I can only describe as nothing, and I'll just leave it at that. And then the only thing that existed was nothing, and an exponentially, slowly starting, increasing feeling of the temperature of cold or expanding. So that means I was growing into something. You know, that's what it felt like. And that's what the reality of it was. These are real events. This isn't just some fairy tale story. This is facts. This is non-fiction. Okay. Now that's out the water. So then as I got colder and colder, it got to the point where I labeled what I was feeling as pain. I was like, whoa. At first, I knew this was cold and I loved it. But now it feels like I've learned that this becomes pain. So too much of making things big or expanding on things, or too much going in things to make things new, brings pain. So then things got extremely bright, and that's it. You know, there was no more thoughts. There was nothing again, and then everything was just exponentially increasing in brightness. You know, and then as it was exponentially increasing in brightness, I began to label the light that I was seeing as light, and I said that's white light. Now let's make it cold, because this is where we're supposed to use the pain. So I caused some pain, and then I was able to see the inside of the white light, and then that's where I saw the rainbow of like the flag of the LGBTQ plus, and then like the actual rainbow of light refracting off of the crystals in cool fire or water in the air as vapor. So then I was then once that happened, there was colors adding to the rainbow of colors in the movements that I was. The thing is, from the point that I started talking about being cold and nothing, from the moment I started talking about nothing and being cold, that's the only thing that was. I had no body to perceive these things. These things just were happening, and I was the happening of these things. So then I was the rainbow colors, and then the rainbow colors started adding colors that I had no label for, because I couldn't put together how they were mixed from the colors in the rainbow that were there before. And then the thing is, the colors that I was seeing were antimatter colors, or colors that come from not focusing. And the thing is, because every time you focus on something, or every time you exist, you actually are expending energy, and you only have 100% of your energy to do a total of anything in the world, of all possibilities. You have 100% worth of energy to do anything you want to do, or anything that anything to do, not anything you can do, anything to do, because we can literally do anything It's just the how, the why, and then the is. So when I was seeing the colors that weren't really made from colors we have here in our rainbow spectrum, that's when the world was born, and I literally stepped down with a footstep at the apartment that I'm in today, and I didn't touch either door nor take any steps but that one footstep. I didn't even land my other foot before I opened the door without touching it. And then I walked in and took one step into the apartment. So the thing about that is that ties to this, to when I explained how we burned alive, like I said earlier. And then that was the experience of the actual life of death, or the seventh, eighth, and ninth dimension. And then that was us. When I stepped down with that footstep, and then besides all the memories that I've had from my last lifetime, where I had actually done, pretty decent and, amazing things for myself, but it wasn't perfection how it is when you grow, through time. So, every time you get better, no matter what you feel about it. That is to show that, we always stay the same until we recreate ourselves totally and the job is finished. So you always know an energy by the what can be coined as like the real name, or what you call on to get to it or become it, or what you eat to be it, or or what the energy essence is, what an energy is. You know what I'm saying? You wouldn't call my energy what my ID name is. No offense to my parents that gave me that my original birth name, not the name of my ID, but my original birth name. They know that it's something beyond that goes with my energy, that is present in every form that I take. Even if that form looks like a lighter that may not even work like this, that has water come out of it, or maybe a pair of scissors used to separate things. Whatever that form is, that energy always holds that same signature feeling of a space. So that's how you know when everything is everything and nothing is nothing, and you have something great upon your hands. Because you always know when something resonates with your body and with you and with your energy. So that's how I always knew that I was something special. So even though at the time of everything I've said, everything I've said about the story from the start to right now was literally just in the time of 1 year. It felt like a really long time because I was being put to sleep by an anesthesiologist, but it felt like, in terms of truth, in revelations or resolutions around the sun, it just took 1 year for them to finish interrogating me and to know what they need to know, and to literally get themselves plastic surgeons enough to look like my family, and to have a literal army of about 30 to 50 people that all know about the process, and they have taken members of my family and replaced them with themselves to act like them. And the thing is, they know deeply about that, and then they also they may also be so deep into the lie about it they may not know the true truth behind it until it works its way out as time comes and those things are purged from our world. So, this is to say that, don't get overworked up by this and try to do something out of character, like I said earlier, where you're not trusting your heart and knowing you need to do something else and you overdo any activity. Okay. So they basically tricked me into believing they were my actual family by getting surgery to look like my family after they had got rid of them. And then they moved us to a different state, acting like we had got some big house, and put me in school and raised me from, 4. I went into school and I was skipping grades all the way up, ended up graduating high school 2013, literally at 11 years old, and literally, breaking a world record. But when I did that, they had documented my real age and my alignments. They were watching it the whole time, so they knew my real age. So when they went to go get my real ID and give me my real ID as I was growing up, they tricked a DMV worker to put a fake birthday on there because they said that somebody had kidnapped me and given me a fake ID that the police couldn't tell was fake, and that, I'm his parent, here's his birth certificate, yada yada, all that. But remember, fake person. And they said, you need to put as this date and this name because this is not him. But it was my real ID at the time. And then they gave me a new ID that was real, scanned, everything with a fake information on it. Everything fake information on it, except for the picture, of course. And so when that happened, I was going through school and stuff. People used to make fun of me and call me babyface because I never grew, I never grew hair on my cheeks. And I still don't to this day because I'm only 20 years old. And because of all the GMO growth drugs and stuff like that. But that's to say, just because all those different things have went into my system, it doesn't mean that it wasn't for a higher purpose and it didn't help me in the end, even though the reason it all happened wasn't beneficial to me in perspective at the time. It was beneficial in the long run and more beneficial for me to go through that immense pain to get to this point, because it has made me the great person that I am. And I really know the truth of things behind all the lies that are painted as truth, because everything appears as a truth when it's viewed 100%. So that's how we get tricked. So long story short, I eventually, began to catch on through the spirit realm and my ancestors being in purgatory, my family being in purgatory, because they found my energy after so long, because it takes a long time to travel in purgatory, because you don't have the physical organs to sense things to know where to travel. So you can literally be traveling in the wrong direction for infinity, believe it or not, if you don't know where to go. So when you want to no, not when you want then they started giving me recurring nightmares and bedwetting and bed shitting, weirdly enough. So then they went to have me checked out because they were literally getting annoyed of cleaning up my mess, because I would literally do it for some reason in the morning before I had to go to school. So when they had to keep cleaning up my mess, they were getting tired of it. So they started taking me to the doctor and they're giving me medication. But when they were testing my blood, they couldn't understand why these things, why I had half-lives of metabolites from so many different drugs, and drugs that shouldn't be in my system, new drugs that were in my system that they didn't even know that the peptide bonds for, or something like that. and a new ionic bond that they hadn't seen before, that they hadn't invented, that nobody in the world knew of. You know, so they felt like somebody had a lot of information from a college or from, you know, collegiate level knowledge and experiential knowledge to a mastery level, and they were evil, literally trying to harm people and part of some type of underground street thing, whatever. So then as I was going to get those tests, they were trying to duplicate it and duplicate and duplicate it, and they weren't talking to me personally. So once they started talking to me personally, I couldn't recall stuff because of all the reverse psychology and the manipulation, the brain molding they had done to me and stuff like that. So essentially, once I had started to tip off the mental hospitals on everything that was going on with me, I basically went to my parents unknowingly that it was a stupid thing to do, but actually the right thing to do, and told them everything that was happening at the mental hospital, even though I wasn't supposed to, and everything I was saying. And then when I did that, they actually, you know, got a weird look in their eye and a weird shaky smile, and they were moving real fast. And then somebody grabbed me within an hour, you know, with a bunch of guns. You know, literally 12 people came in, 2 guns in each hand, you know, like mini AKs. They said, these are mini AKs, pussy. And then they shot out the window with, you know, 1, 2, 3. The window just like nothing. And then I was like, okay, so what's going on here? They said, you're coming with us and you're taking a shot. They said, you know what's going on? He said, of course you don't. Right in the forehead. So, you know, in this scar that I got from being in the cannonball and being stabbed in the forehead one time. So, see this scar? I'll show you real quick. That's the scar. So then I was telling them, oh, I've been having dreams. They were like, weren't you wetting the bed and you know, pooping the bed and stuff? You know, they were like, you're supposed to be this old, and that's rarely happened to people that old unless they've had extreme cases of PTSD. And I'm talking, you know, I'm not even gonna say the case, because I want you to focus. So I started explaining to them the dreams I was having. Then they put it all together, and you know, they found everything. And then when they found everything, they didn't get to it in time, and they had literally already grabbed me and abducted me and took me to a secret location. And they had figured out how to give me a secret demonic possession surgery. And the way a demonic possession surgery works is it involves the 14th and 13th vertebrae of a host and a puppet master. So what they do, you have to remove the entire 13th vertebrae of the host and put it in the puppet master, and then you remove the 13th vertebrae of the puppet master and put it in the host, and then you remove the 14th vertebrae in the spinal cord of the host, and then you swap that one with the 13th of the puppet master. So basically you flop the 13th over with the 14th, and then you take the 14th, flip it over with the 13th. And then you also have to either have the puppet master has to have digested part of the pancreas or the whole pancreas of the host, and must have the sexual fluids, either period blood, an egg, or seminal fluid, either in PC, you know, a full-on ejaculation, or a stem cell of a child of the host and the host's polar mate, which is a spirit mate, or like a twin soul, twin flame, or like a soulmate. So when they do the swap, and then they eat the stuff they're supposed to eat, they're supposed to, they have a ticking time bomb in their stomach, and they have to mark their geographical location, and they literally have to be on the exact 180 degree, or the polar opposite position, point A to point B, facing the exact same way, just on the opposite side of the planet, doing the exact same positioning and same thing. If you're speaking, you literally have to be saying the exact same thing as the person to be controlling them. So what happened was, they did the switch in the surgery, and then they put me in a specific location, in a specific position that was easy to bind me in, to bind multiple people in, and also easy to restrain me, but impossible for me to make a sound, move, stuff like that, to make it easy to lock onto me and to be able to control me with the puppet master and possess me, and to use me to act like I'm meat, and essentially to do things in this world that I'm not supposed to do. So what they did, they put me in the known location, targeted and marked, and then they shot through. They literally had a drill to go through to the other side of the world, because the person who was gonna be the puppet master had eaten the stuff, but they had eaten it the week before it, because they made a mistake. They for some reason they thought they saw they thought they saw a 7. They thought they saw a 7-day before the ceremony, but it was 1 day. They're supposed to eat it the 12 hours before the ceremony, is what they told them in person, but they weren't supposed to write it, because if they write it, then literally with black magic, and with certain levels of spelling that will pull on multiple huge energy sources and allow many energies to come together to make a huge power source that is immensely greater than those. It takes a lot of alignments, or a lot of things to happen and go right. So when that went wrong, they actually were at the same time supposed to be drilling through at an exact angle to where they would be aligning with me before they had fully digested and assimilated the food that they were supposed to eat to complete the process, and all they had to do was get into position for everything to work. So they were essentially gonna be able to get in that position, but when she had eaten it the week before, it had literally slowed down time to the point where it had already assimilated with her system, and she had got a super powered force of negative karma, where they would have been able to loophole the negative karma like they had normally been doing. But because they had been loopholing the negative karma, and they didn't focus on it to let it just be, and to let it heal itself, it grew into a super negative karma and hit them on the face at once, and spoke through me and my family. So, that's just the power of God. Even though God is Satan and Lucifer, that doesn't mean that we have to fall and worship any energy that tries to take on a different name that's that. So, you have to realize that the world is allowed to be so evil and hurtful because that's the only way we're allowed to survive, is through learning how to experience pain in the best way possible. And the best way to experience pain is to not react to it. You don't react to it, you give it nothing. So nothing is the best thing to take in to healing the wound of our face. The wound that everybody sees is that we think we need something, but we really don't. We just need nothing. And that's what's best for us. And we shouldn't worry about what comes with that, because it's okay. If nothing comes with that, that's what we wanted anyway, so it's all good. And then, my bad, y'all. Phone died. So then when the police advanced after interviewing me, they actually were able to find my body when I had actually been dumped, and they were trying to get through to the other side, and they were trying to get in position, but they couldn't get position. They couldn't realize why they couldn't get in position, but it was because a police dog had literally found me and literally had said like English words to a cop somewhere, and he literally just said an address, and the cop looked at his phone and typed it so fast. He's like, "Whoa, I'm not even a fast typer." My girlfriend and my daughter always make fun of me because I take forever to type when they're watching me. I can't even type with them watching me. I have to go in the bathroom, stuff like that. So then when they found my body after they had basically, they basically set me up, and they combusted my bed through like a died down explosion, and then they locked me in the room with something like a lead safe, a solid lead safe. So there was no chance of me getting out. Basically, they wanted to make sure I was trying to burn alive. And then all those things happened where I went to the 7th, 8th, and 9th dimension. That's that part. And then this is the 1, 2, and 3rd. So then when the wound is fully healed, this is the last thing that we need to heal to perfect ourselves before we go to the 4th, 5th, and 6th, which is a lot more better feeling. It appears more negative, which is really the same, which means it appears worse, it appears bad, it appears more painful, but in reality, it's completely a 180-degree better. I know some people say that this life is hell, like, that this life isn't good at all, there's nothing good about this life. But when I tell you that this 1, 2, and 3rd dimension life is great, and then the 4th, 5th, and 6th dimension is like, if you had to throw the greatest thing in the world away every time you had to throw something away, then that will be great in the 1, 2, and 3rd dimension, in the 4th, 5th, and 6th dimension compared to everything else around it. So literally, greatness here, the greatest thing. LeBron James is his basketball skills in a freaking candy that tastes like the best thing in the world you never tasted. Here is what you would poop out in the 4th, 5th, and 6th dimension. If you think I'm kidding, you don't know the truth. So the best thing is to know, we always know the best thing to do. And anybody telling us to doubt that, or any reason we see to doubt that, is a lie. The only real lie is fear and doubt. The only real truth is nothing. And that's what we need to remember. So it doesn't matter if you die, because we're immortal. We just don't always remember what happens when we die, because maybe we went through too much trauma in the process of dying to actually remember consciously in the front of our mind where we can speak it. Because if we did speak it at that time, it would hurt us to the point where we would literally recreate ourselves and clean our slate where we do not want to clean our slate. And that's the last thing we want to do, is clean our slate. So this is to say that, life is good. And if life is good here, life is going to be indescribable in the next chapter. So it's only right that we face this final boss with an open mind, positivity, and all the love in our heart. Because it don't matter what happens. It don't matter. It don't matter what happens. We're immortal, baby. We live forever. We never die. Anybody telling you different is the biggest lie you've ever met, no matter who they are. So why don't you change your world today and realize how far you've come after all this. So that way, when you know that silence, that space that you carry, that's everything you need. Everything you need is nothing. And everything you want is what you need. Everything you need is what you exactly want, no matter what it is. Even if it's nothing. You already know, boy and girls. We all one, though. I'm a girl and a boy, too. You already know. Real shit. Dark on light. Arkansas. Arkansas. It is what it is. My name is Clyde, a.k.a. Archangel Zadel, a.k.a. Hey Yahweh. And if you know, you know. Don't worship a damn thing. Yeah!